How you doing, everybody, and welcome to our two-a-days Packers position-by-position previews here on ESPNMilwaukee.com and ESPNMadison.com. The NFL lockout, which we think is ending on Monday, has altered our planning a little bit in our annual previews by position, so we're going two by two every day leading up to what should be the first practice, at least the scheduled first practice of training camp on Saturday, July 30th. So that was the plan throughout the lockout. We'll see how the resolution, assuming that goes off without a hitch, because it certainly didn't last weekend. If that happens, we'll see exactly when practices are held, but that's at least the scheduled plan. And when the Packers begin training camp, the two positions at the top of our list, quarterback and running back, will have some interesting storylines. Certainly not a competition at quarterback, as Aaron Rodgers, the Super Bowl MVP, coming off a fantastic season, although not a Pro Bowl season. Played 15 games, threw for 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, but still plenty of room for improvement for him. As good as he was, he really was unhappy with how he started last season. He didn't feel like he got off to the fast start he wanted after playing well in the preseason, but he was lights out down the stretch. Certainly very good against the New York Giants in a must-win game in the second to last week of the regular season. Gets through two tough games in Chicago, both in the regular season finale and in the last game in the NFC Championship game. Won a game in Lambeau, one game in Soldier Field, but terrific indoors at Atlanta with just a phenomenal performance in the divisional round. Very efficient performance in the NFC wildcard game at Philadelphia, and then obviously terrific in the Super Bowl when he won MVP honors. Still, they have some interesting stories too at backup quarterback. Matt Flynn was terrific in his one NFL start when he played at New England and was extremely productive against the Patriots, who at the time were a Super Bowl favorite. The Packers did lose that game, but he showed that he is capable of being the starter if he has a week of preparation. His biggest challenge is he needs to be better if he has to come in off the bench, as he did in Detroit, where the Packers lost a very winnable game against the Lions, 7-3, and Matt Flynn, as good as he was against the Patriots, was not very good against the Lions. And then the third quarterback, Graham Harrell, is certainly a question mark. We'll see if the Packers sign any undrafted free agents, maybe ex-Badger Scott Tolzien, for some competition in camp. But Graham Harrell really hurt by the lockout, really could have used the time that they have in the quarterback school to get better, get even more familiar with the offense after joining the team during OTAs last spring. Meanwhile, at running back, the storyline is Ryan Grant's presumably healthy return and what that means for their rotation in the backfield. James Starks, obviously extremely productive once he finally got on the field, but he has durability issues. There is reason to at least ask whether or not his fresh legs, compared to everyone else on the field, were a factor in his productivity. But he was very good. He had the 73-yard debut against the San Francisco 49ers in early December. He then had the 123-yard effort at Philadelphia in the wild card game. He finished with 315 yards rushing in the postseason in 4 games, almost as many as Dorsey Levens had in 1997 when he had 316 yards rushing. But the challenge will be deciding how they're going to divide up the carries in that backfield. Ryan Grant has been healthy for a while now. Felt like he could have come back late in the season despite having the screw inserted into his ankle following the injury in Philadelphia in the opener. He carries a very high cap number, but he says he's gotten no indication that the Packers intend to cut him and go with Starks and third-round pick Alex Green as their two top running backs. I would say Ryan Grant will be the opening day starter. We'll see if I'm right. And I'm also anxious to see who's getting the bulk of the carries by season's end. Ryan Grant will turn 29 in December, but he's not a high-mileage back at age 29. Hadn't gotten many opportunities in New York with the Giants before the 2007 trade that brought him to Green Bay. certainly he'll have fresh legs after sitting out all but 8 carries of last season with the ankle injury. They'll also have some decisions to make at fullback. If free agency starts this week, which we're expecting it to, we just don't know when. It could be Tuesday, it could be Friday, it could be Saturday. 2 of the Packers' 3 fullbacks, John Kuhn, the cult hero that he is, and Corey Hall are both free agents. We'll see what the Packers do with those 2 players. And Brandon Jackson, their third down back, is also an unrestricted free agent. So some decisions to be made in free agency in the backfield and in terms of how they structure their roster. The Packers have kept 3 running backs, 3 fullbacks, and 4 tight ends coming out of camp the last couple of years. This time around, did they manage to re-sign Brandon Jackson, keep 4 running backs coming out of camp, only 2 fullbacks? Do they find room on their roster for 5 tight ends, having gotten DJ Williams in the draft, along with Ryan Taylor in the 7th round, DJ Williams in the 5th round, added to their group of tight ends that they've already got, led by Jermichael Finley, who's coming back from injury. That'll be one of the decisions they'll have to make in terms of their roster, but we'll talk about tight ends when we get to them on our next set of two-a-days, which will be wide receivers and tight ends coming up tomorrow. Keep reading at ESPNMilwaukee.com, ESPNMadison.com. Don't forget to tune in to Green and Gold Today each day from 10 to 11 Central Time on ESPN Milwaukee and ESPNMadison.com. And be sure to check back here for our next installment of videos on the wide receivers and tight ends as two-a-days continue with the 2011 Packers. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.